Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Friday Eve. I want to welcome to the show. Why does it feel like you've been gone for a really long time? BlazeTV contributor Jaco Booyens.
I haven't. This is my second time this week.
Well, it's been a week for me, apparently. Welcome
I'm glad
back.
to be here with this brother.
Yes, Eric July, BlazeTV contributor Eric July. Glad that both of you are here. Welcome. Yeah. So, obviously, there's been a lot going on with all of the hurricanes. We had Hurricane Helene and North Carolina in particular. I know there are areas of Georgia and some other places that are, were decimated by this. North Carolina, parts of that were the hardest hit. But we just had Hurricane Milton hit outside of Tampa. And early yesterday, the National Weather Service confirmed at least 4 tornadoes, 1 multi-vortex tornado. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds really scary. They spawned up in multiple cities across Florida ahead of Hurricane Milton, and it hit. You guys were hearing, I'm sure, all of these forecasts. It was going to be category 6. It was going to be, and I don't want to downplay this at all because it was devastating. And I want to get into that, but I want to get into how this has been handled. But for all of the speculation that it was going to hit as a category 6 and it was going to be the worst storm in 100 years and all of that, it did hit south of Tampa Bay as a category 3. It did kill at least 4 people. Like I said, I'm not trying to downplay it. 3.2 million people are without power. And Tropicana Field, this is the home of the Tampa Bay Rays, had its roof completely torn off by all of the winds. I mean, look at that.
Yeah, and it was set up as a shelter.
Right. Yeah. They were staging it as a shelter. Well, that's not a shelter anymore.
Close.
So I wonder where those people, did you hear where those people ended up going?
No.
I don't know where they went.
They weren't in there when it happened.
They weren't in there yet.
Which is good. They were not in there yet. It was supposed to be an aftermath go-to shelter. So I'm assuming displaced people today somewhere else.
Right.
Not there.
Right. And I want to play, you guys know, I have tried to give credit where credit is due. And there's a lot of credit that's due to Ron DeSantis for the way that he has governed so effectively in the state. And you look at how poorly, Roy Cooper in North Carolina, look at that. And then you look at, Roy Cooper's like, FEMA, where are you? Please, big daddy government, where are you? I can't do anything myself. Whereas Ron DeSantis is over here marshaling state agencies to help and supplement local communities. Here's a clip of that. Watch.
I've got to get the job done, and that's what I'm focused on. Now, people have asked me about, is FEMA going to do this? Just let me be clear, in Florida, we run the show. FEMA's not running the show. We will utilize them to support some of the things we're doing, but you are not going to see FEMA running amok in Florida. I know that's been out there on the internet. That is not going to happen. I'm the sheriff that's in charge here, and we will make sure to protect you. Don't worry about it.
Eric, does that turn you on?
Absolutely. You know it.
I mean, come on.
This is what I was talking about. That you remember when DeSantis initially ran?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about it on the other show. Yeah. I said I hated it, mainly because I felt this was what everybody accepts that as far as him governing Florida, he's done about as decent of a job that people feel like someone could do that's in that position.
That's good of a job.
That's where, it's good. That's where he should be, right? There's no reason to take him away from that. Let's have him sit there if we believe that he is doing a great job. But this is an absolute act of decentralization. Actually, when I love to hear any state that's saying to the feds, go screw yourselves, like I'm all about that. But seriously, it's you see what that looks like. You see when someone's just like, look, this is our problem. This is a Florida issue. This is something that is unique to us. We're going to be the ones that are best suited to actually deal with it. Let's solve the problem. And then they seem to handle it very well. It's only when, and this is why I think, looking at it from an economics perspective, right? human action. Let's look at it like through that lens. Everybody operates through incentive, right? Mm-hmm. And I think even if you go at the state level, it's the same thing where they have no incentive to actually put things in place to actually solve these different issues if they are so reliant or dependent upon the federal government. When you have that mindset that, okay, this is my problem, this is our problem, this is more local, then you're not waiting for them. You're not looking to them, and you can come up with your own unique solutions. This is what I believe this entire country actually needs. So good on them and good on the people of Florida. And to your point, like the earlier point that you were bringing up, I do think that's something worth talking about that, because we all heard it. You know, I'm not just going to pretend like it's just so easy to predict the weather, but come on, man. We were told that this was going to be something absolutely catastrophic, and not to say that it wasn't for probably the people whose lives were impacted, whether you got your house destroyed or something like that. Ain't nothing to sneeze at, right, by any means. And I want to be very, very clear to the American people there. That said, it certainly wasn't what they said that it was going to be, because it did go down, and I think everybody at least assumed that it wasn't going to, it was going to, as it always does, a hurricane. When it hit landfall, it was going to kind of be a little weaker, right? And it got pretty much significantly weaker because we were promised the biggest storm in 100 years, and that's not anything near what we got. But going back to the point, kudos to those guys out there in Florida. Pray for, I mean, we have a bunch of vendors that are out there with Rippaverse there. We've even delayed some of our products as far as our fulfillment because of that. I've heard from them today, like our Chuck Dixon is there, writer of The Horseman. He's there. He's talked to us this morning. He's like, well, we're good here. We got through this storm just fine. And I love to hear that. And I hope that's the same can be said for a lot of people that are out there.
Yeah. We have, as a family, we have a place in Winter Park in Florida. We go there often. I want to say a couple of things. If you think of school choice, and you're going to, this guy's talking school choice. Yes. School choice, our argument is let the money follow the child. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Right? Why are we independent states, but part of a nation, if we're not going to operate independently when it's time to operate independently? That's what Ron is doing. I'm the sheriff in this town. I'll invite you, federal government, and I'll give you playing rules. The last mile is always the most difficult. Here's the last mile. Cut the money off of the Fed. Keep Florida tax money in Florida. Let the money follow Floridians, like we say. School choice, the money should follow the child. Yes, he is cutting off. He's going, Florida's going to take care of Florida. Okay? The next step I want to see from all the states, stop sending that federal money to FEMA, to the government. Keep it in Florida.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. We're not inviting you here. You can watch us.
Right.
I don't drink, but hold my beer, watch this. Right? Watch this. He is a champion. He's the best governor in the country. It's him and Kevin Stitt. You know, between him and Kevin Stitt, Abbott.
Certainly not ours.
Not Greg Abbott, okay? Can you imagine how DeSantis would have handled the border much differently? But now the money, the American taxpayers' money, needs to stop going to the Fed. Keep it in the state. Do it in the state. To the previous comment, look, did they lie to us about the intensity of the low pressure, which is bad in a hurricane, in the ocean? Maybe they did. I give God the glory that we prayed and say, suck the energy out of the storm, speed it up, let it blow through in 9 hours. It's highly likely that they lied to us from the onset, that it wasn't what they said it was in the ocean.
Not like I'm out there, so
but
I would never know.
But I'm thankful. But I'm thankful that the damage wasn't there, that it wasn't 15-foot swells, and that we don't have another catastrophe. But Ron DeSantis, where was this Ron DeSantis when he ran for president? But to Eric's point, thank God he's in Florida. And we need more of those guys across the country.
Yeah, I think
Step up.
Floridians are
very happy.
thanking God that he's in Florida right about now as well, especially with his proven track record on handling all of these storms that they face over there in Florida. Yeah.
He needs to hammer Disney a little more.
I mean, but he's been the only one to do it.
Yes, but I want just.
What do you want him to do? Kill people?
No, I want to take that. I want to take that land, let them go away, and then let them go to Europe, and then let Universal take over there. You know, someone else.
I mean, I'm okay with
Something
that.
else. Send Disney to Europe.
Okay.
The French will take them.
That's okay. Let's do it. All right, Ron, get on that. So let's kind of compare, because you have the way that Ron DeSantis is handling this. And then you have the way that the federal government is handling it, not just with FEMA, but with our executive office. Of course, you have the woman who is running for she's auditioning for first in command. She's auditioning for a promotion, right? And this would be the time that you would think that she would step up and really show true leadership if she really wants the gig. And instead, I want to play, you know what, let's go. I see the time here. Let's go ahead and play Kamala in this Zoom call. She's in this Zoom meeting. And I think she doesn't understand that her microphone is on, because you'll see her covering her. I got to set the scene for you guys. She's covering her mouth, and she tells her aides, who are feeding, you can tell they're feeding her questions. She says, I'm on a live broadcast. And she's so dumb, she doesn't realize, like, when you're talking, they can hear you if you're on a live broadcast, idiot. Watch.
Flood. We really got to watch those areas and those communities. So it takes quite a while for that water to drain.
And then
Thank you very much.
Look, she's looking at them.
Hey, Ken, I have a question for you. You mentioned words matter, and I know there is a lot of media following this briefing.
So she's looking off screen
because they're in her ear, and she's thinking, right? Sarah, Eric.
She's looking off screen to get fed the question, and she's like, "I'm on a live broadcast," so she can't even just handle this without her aides telling her what to say, and B, her being so stupid that she screws it up.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, I guess, look, I don't think anybody believes, well, to be fair, there's a lot of stupid people out there. So maybe there are people that believe that she is actually smart,
competent,
and at least competent for the job, I guess, that it is she's running for. Look, I understand that you're always going to have, like, you put people in positions of power within any sort of administration, any company or anything, to kind of make decisions on your behalf or on the company's behalf. But yeah, she does kind of, and I could be wrong on that, but the way that she presents herself is, to me, like someone who gets fed essentially everything it is that she's that she's saying. Like, it's not coming from her. It's not legitimate. And I think we talked about this maybe last week, where how, like, she comes across as, with John Doyle. We were talking about how inauthentic she comes across as, and it's like things have flipped, because we used to look at the people, the Democrats were the ones that were relatable to just the regular people.
Right.
And you don't get that feeling definitely with a Kamala by any means, at least comparable to, in comparison to a Trump. She just comes off as fake. Mm-hmm. She comes off as not real, and she does come off as someone like is in her ear feeding her lines, like in any given moment, as in the thought isn't hers. It's one thing to get versed on a given topic. I think anybody would do that.
And then you put it in your own words.
Right, and you put it in your own words, but this almost feels like, or she comes across as someone who's like, whatever someone is telling her, that's what she's going to regurgitate, and she doesn't even properly, like, assess that information.
I think there's, like, at least two instances that I would say that is the real Kamala, and that is when she talks about how excited she gets about school buses.
Yep.
And also Venn diagrams.
Which is why they took that away from her.
That is Kamala.
They took that away from her. Like,
right.
You're never thinking again or speaking again. We're going to give you earpieces.
You're right. Yeah.
We had a puppet before.
Yeah.
We need a puppet going forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
The previous guy read the commas and the
End
don't
of
laugh.
quote.
End of quote. You need to do that.
Repeat the line. Speaking of him, let's actually play. This is incredible to me. So Joe Biden, I was talking to Stephen last night, and I was like, what if the October surprise comes from Joe Biden? Because he seemingly really wants Kamala, like, he wants to stick it to her. He's out there while Kamala is lying, saying that she called Ron DeSantis and he didn't answer, and he's putting politics over people's lives. And Ron DeSantis is like, yeah, she didn't call. That's a lie. And you can tell by her delivery that it's a lie, right? Because she was being very careful to say, well, I talked to Democrat and Republican governors, but didn't actually follow through and say, it was him for sure. And so you're watching this happen. At the same time that that's happening, Joe Biden comes out and says, Ron DeSantis has been doing a great job. Like, there was no reason for him to say that other than to stick it to Kamala. But he's still not pro-Trump, because according to Joe Biden, and during his press conference today, he says, you're going to love this. Eric, I don't know if you've seen this. I feel like your blood pressure is going to rise when you see this. Joe Biden says Donald Trump needs to do more to help hurricane victims. Watch.
Mr. President, have you spoken before President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me?
Information?
Mr. President Trump, former President Trump.
Mr. President.
Get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable?
You're the active you're the current
Literally president right now.
I love how he says that and just walks off.
Because you know the truth.
Will you
What is the truth?
Former President Trump?
You are.
So forget a life, man. I'm out of here.
It's like you have one job.
Who's the current president of the United States?
He doesn't
Who
know.
is the president?
Well, he said Mr. President,
Help those
former
people,
President Donald Trump. Like, first of all, he was there before you or Kamala.
Technically, he doesn't. He's there as a private citizen.
He doesn't have to. He's a private
he doesn't have
citizen.
He doesn't have an
And he's
obligation.
still
Not
there.
just that, while he's doing that press conference, President Donald Trump is hosting, free of charge, 237 power linemen, positioning them to deploy the next morning if Florida's without power. Get a life, man.
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
It's like, what?
he's a private citizen.
Yeah.
You're the federal government. There are a lot of places of our lives that you guys stick your greasy paws into that you have no business sticking your greasy paws into. This would be at least the one that's like, you could help hurricane victims.
Yeah.
And you can't even admit that.
In a way, it was probably a beautiful acknowledgement from Joe Biden that only Trump can help this and they can't. Get a life, man. Help these people. You're the president currently, and your VP, who still, I'm going to keep saying it, has still not secured a single vote,
Right.
but is running for president. That it's the greatest fleecing of the American public to say, you matter so little. It's another experiment that's working. Could we get a candidate to legitimately run for president and America won't protest and she doesn't get a single vote?
Yeah.
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, this segment, Birch Gold. So obviously there's a lot at stake in this upcoming election, which we're really close to. But regardless of who is sitting in the White House, the fuse on our economy has already been lit. Every 4 years of a conservative presidency it's still not going to be enough to turn the tide on our $35 trillion national debt. I realize that it's a number that's so astronomical that your eyes probably glaze over and you can't quite comprehend just how much that is. But if the left wins, it's like throwing gas on a dumpster fire. And I'm just saying, if you haven't thought about diversifying into gold, let me tell you about Birch Gold Group. They can help you do that because for millennia, gold has stood firm in the face of greedy governments, economic upheavals, global strife, just kind of what's happening right now. So if you have a 401k or an IRA just sitting around collecting dust and potentially devaluing every day, go talk to Birch Gold. They can help you actually convert an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. It's not going to cost you a penny out of pocket. I do business with Birch Gold. I highly recommend them. They were very, very, very easy to work with. They walked us through everything, explained everything, all the questions that we had, we got answers to. So here's what you need to do. Text the word Sarah to 989898. They're going to send you a free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, so there's no reason not to just inform yourself. Okay, knowledge is power. So text the word Sarah to 989898 and find out whether gold is right for you. That is the word Sarah to 989898. Did you guys see the 60 Minutes interview, or at least some of the clips from the 60 Minutes interview of Kamala Harris and Bill Whitaker?
Yes. Didn't go well.
Were you underwhelmed?
Did not watch those.
I didn't go well for her.
So it's interesting that you say that because it didn't, and we all saw it. And what magically happened about 24 hours later, CBS News decided to edit their interview that we already, of course, had clips of and gave Kamala a much different answer than what she originally had said. Watch.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Well, isn't that a much different, more polished answer that Kamala Harris gave? Well, thank you very much, CBS. I believe that they call that election interference.
Yep, 100%. They also call it lying, scumbag, 10 feet under the turkey dung, Thanksgiving turkey dung scumbags lying to the American people. Stop trusting these fools.
Yeah.
Remember Mr. T? I met him the other day.
Did you really?
From A-Team, the A-Team.
Pity the fool.
Yeah.
You fool! Stop trusting these fools.
That's what they are.
Okay, so,
That's a completely different answer. That's
I mean,
kind
come
of
on,
wild.
so how can you, if you're paying attention, at this point, refute when Donald Trump said the mainstream media is the enemy of the people?
Cannot.
Well, yeah, that's not up for dispute. I think but there are some clowns out there, particularly like those leftists that be streaming and stuff. They actually believe that the corporate press is right wing, and now you have to be a completely
Hilarious.
I mean,
That is insane.
like a different dimension. But I'm being dead
Those are
serious.
cokeheads.
You talk.
Okay. Straight up, dude.
They are probably
They
crack
cokeheads.
smokers, most definitely. That's what I would refer to them as for sure, on my shows for sure. But no, these guys actually believe that. They believe that the corporate media, the corporate press, they are like right wing or right leaning, which is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
insane.
But you see what that was? That was a cover up.
Right.
Yeah.
She gave a nonsensical answer that she clearly wasn't prepared to. She kind of weaseled around, stumbled upon some sort of end game there. She was struggling to get there, but she got there eventually nonetheless. That was that wasn't just like an edit to try to make it a little more concise. That was a different answer, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
That was
a different part of the interview.
Yeah, that was a completely different answer.
Which is so funny because they already edited what we originally saw.
Yes.
I talked about this with Matt Marsden and Steve Baker, and the day afterward, we were playing these clips, and you're looking at the different camera angles and the different cuts, and in one cut, she's raising her hands, and then in the other
Continuity
cut,
is
right,
not there.
the continuity is not there.
Yeah.
And I didn't honestly think about it until they pointed it out, and then once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right.
And so it's like, well, who made the decision that was going to make her look? I mean, if you're going to edit it, the point of editing is to make her look good. So they still couldn't even do that with the first cut. Mm-hmm. They had to cut it again, I guess, because they had brain dead people who were making the edits in the first place who failed at their job. And they had to go and do it again. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't realize. I was like, they already edited this. This was the edit.
Yeah, exactly. This is a re-edit.
Yes.
To Eric's earlier point, though, in the show, in the previous segment, if she's not fed exactly what to say, it's a disaster. Yeah. So again, we have a president, a potential president, a person running for president here that needs the help of junior editors from mainstream media to make her answer a question about foreign policy and about
which would be her one job. I know we often say that the presidents are doing or able to do things that they really can't do. That is their one specific job as the executive chief. That's specifically what they are tasked with doing, is dealing with foreign policy. That's their job. Right. And if you can't answer that, all that other stuff that y'all that she's talking about, which she can't do that. And I hate that, and to be fair, all of the people that run for president talk about what they're going to do, and they can't possibly, it's not even in your job description to do.
Yes.
But that's right there what you're supposed to do. And if you can't answer that, you're completely unqualified.
You got a couple Brown University poli-sci graduates that'll edit it for you.
Yeah, true.
Before Netanyahu hears it. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe you cause a world war with your incompetence.
You just have to wonder at what point mainstream media is just going to crumble, because I feel like, I mean, it was already bad, but this election has just been so insane. I mean, you have the debate where they were fact-checking Donald Trump. They would refuse to fact-check Kamala Harris. I mean, you have the whistleblower allegation that they actually just fed Kamala the answers, which, by the way, I realize they're just allegations. I believe it, because you'll notice in that debate, it was the only time you've ever seen her give a polished answer. Mm-hmm. She actually did very well. Tell me why she can't recreate that every single time she does one of these mainstream media interviews, sit-down interviews. Tell me why. Because those are way less stressful. You're not standing right next to your opponent.
Yeah.
Right? It's not timed where you have to make sure that you get in all of your points under 2 minutes or however much time there is. And yet she was more polished on those answers. I mean, she's still crazy, but she was more polished on those answers than she is when she sits down with her friends. These are her friends. They love her. They're re-editing their already edited interview just to get her in. Of course. Of course. So I'm like, I believe that. I do believe that they gave her the questions. I don't think it's coincidence that she performed much better than she ever has or ever will.
Gave Hillary the questions. Hillary's team met with him. Do you think, I always ask this question, look, why Donald Trump agreed to go with no audience and he should never have agreed to those terms. Do you think Kamala Harris will go sit down with Fox and Friends?
No.
As the moderators and not get the questions with no audience and it's completely real?
No.
Good luck.
No.
Good luck. Let's see that.
Right.
It should be a trade-off. I come to your turf, right? Home game and away game, right?
Yeah,
and then you come to my turf.
Yeah.
You won't show.
Home game and away. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me read what Donald Trump posted on Truth Social about this. He said, a giant fake news scam by CBS in 60 Minutes. Her real answer was crazy or dumb. So they actually replaced it with another answer in order to save her or at least make her look better. A fake news scam, which is totally illegal. Take away the CBS license, election interference. Don't disagree with him. That is blatant election interference. You guys started it. You made the rules. These are the rules now. He says she is a moron and the fake news media wants to hide that fact. An unprecedented scandal. The Dems got them to do this and should be forced to concede the election. Wow. And he goes on. But, I mean, he's right. You guys made the rules. Election interference. If you... What? He didn't even do anything that was election interference. He called Ukraine and said, hey, I heard that Joe Biden, my opponent, is really corrupt. And I heard he's done really corrupt things in your country or with your country. And I would like to look into that. And that was election interference.
I hear he's washing some of your money. No, he's not. Send me another $200 billion.
Right.
The big guy.
Right. And that was election interference. And that was the biggest deal in the world. Meanwhile, you've got all of the news media deceptively editing, clips to make their candidate look good. You've got them potentially leaking questions to their candidates. You've got them blatantly showing bias in what is supposed to be an objective debate. I cannot, for the life of me, understand why they have more than 2 freaking viewers. Ever. I don't get it.
They're on fumes. Let's be real. The corporate press, as far as those guys, the CBS is all the alphabet cats. They're on their last stand. This is why they were. I mean, you see what's going on with CNN and Warner. I believe that it is. I mean, they're all struggling for money. Anyway.
Money.
At all. I mean, Warner's about to go. Surprised they are still as much debt as they piled up. Nonetheless. They're in their last stand. It's why they started lashing out at those YouTubers talking about this misinformation and all this stuff is because they couldn't control those guys and they're getting more viewership than those guys, most importantly. So what they're trying to attempt to do was delegitimize all of those guys that were out there doing on their own YouTube channels, on their own websites that are really talking about the same stuff that they're talking about. It just comes off as a far more authentic, which is why people tend to gravitate towards that. We're seeing media, look, the corporate media is no exception to the rule. This is happening across all entertainment industries right now, right? Whether it be Hollywood, you're talking about TV and film, you're talking about games, you're talking about anything right now. You're starting to see sort of the independent, detached sort of entities that are rising up, seeing a lot of success and in some capacity being very competitive, right, with the quote unquote mainstream. So those guys are on their last stand for sure. I mean, any viewership that they got is probably somebody that has it on in the airport or something of that nature. It's not like legitimate. Who the hell is really sitting down and watching CNN? I'm pretty sure there's somebody that's doing it. But
there's a whole lot
really
of
doing
sick people in this country.
Yeah, I know somebody's doing it, but it's like who's really doing it?
Yeah. Well, I said more than 2 people because I thought, well, they have parents, and I'm sure their parents would tune in. So I'll give them 2 viewers.
I think some of their parents say, call me when you got your mind back, because right now I don't want to know you.
I would hope.
I think Don Lemon's mom was very proud of him.
Actually, honestly, maybe. Because
Maybe.
how did he get to be?
She may be the same mom that drives her kid for a sex change or a drag show for kids.
Right, right.
Lock them up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, we've got more to get into. First, I want to remind you guys, go to saramerch.com. We've got some awesome merch over there. You can get the I'm voting for the guy they keep trying to kill, which hurry up and get that so you get it before the election. You can get the coffee cup, saramerch.com. And then, I'm voting for the convicted felon, which I'm drinking from right now. It's my favorite mug ever. You can get Sara Gonzales Unfiltered brand merch, and then you can get a whole bunch of other stuff. It'll funnel you into the Blaze Media shop. So go to saramerch.com. You can save 10% with code SARA10. That is saramerch.com. We'll be right back. Earlier this week, we learned that there was an Afghan refugee who moved here during the botched Afghanistan withdrawal, that the Biden-Harris regime flew him in, right? 27 years old. He was arrested for planning an election day terrorist attack where he bought like 2 AK-47s, 500 rounds of ammunition. He had already was gathering the funds to send his family back home to repatriate, because he was very much assuming that he was going to become a martyr at that point. And so he was charged. And I recall whenever we were talking about this, I said, so he entered on a special immigrant visa, or special interest visa, excuse me, where they gave this, it was Operation, I forget what it's called, but it was a special operation where they were giving these special immigrant visas to people there in the region who supposedly helped the United States in some form or fashion, in some capacity, while they were in Afghanistan. And so my question was, well, they were supposed to have vetted these people, and that was supposed to be a requirement. So I'm very much looking forward to understanding how this guy got in with this particular visa. Well, we find out today that he was a security guard for the CIA in Afghanistan. The CIA. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting how the CIA's name keeps popping up in all of these alleged terrorist attacks, foiled terrorist attacks? Isn't it so fascinating that the CIA happened to be where his connection was? Or do I need to remove my tinfoil hat?
No, I mean, if we want to go full tinfoil hat, we would need some more time that we don't have for the show, especially talking about that region and, the American government, CIA, all the alphabet cats essentially funding both sides of wars. War. I mean, if you want to go there, we could absolutely go there. But yeah, I that was who they caught.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Exactly right.
And I think
Exactly
that's where the mind goes,
Exactly
right?
right.
When something like that hits the fan, and it's like, oh yeah, you stopped that one, but who's to say there aren't many more that at least are smart enough to not let you in on their plan?
Yeah, but who brought him here?
Yeah, you flew him in.
Well, you were bust here. I mean, effectively, you get. I mean, more using that just more as an analogy, but yeah, you were brought over here, right? And look, I think that the whole, and I hate to say this, I'm not trying to say this to be a doomer, but I think the kumbaya approach to like people migrating in some form, definitely like asylum seekers and refugees, something catastrophic is going to end up happening, like almost like a ticking time bomb. And I think only until that happens is when we really are going to start to have a legitimate conversation about cultures being incompatible with each other. Mm-hmm. And you are basically creating conflict. And then it's going to get really ugly once the American people finally realize that the folks that basically bust in this harm were the folks that you trusted with your security. And that's the American government. Mm-hmm. And so you got two different issues there, right? You got, okay, when the people start realizing they have been duped, or rather it's like you're setting them up for failure, or worse, if we're going to be blunt about it, to be killed. And then you have like all these folks here. And yes, it's happening in different areas. It's not just, folks are coming from Afghanistan. Well, some people are coming through, let's say, just the southern border. And it's the same exact problem where you have culturally incompatible people, and you're trying to mesh them together with this whole lie that is this sort of like diversity and all this other stuff, and it's our strength and all this other nonsense. It's only a strength when people have assimilated and at least are culturally compatible, right? That's when it's like, okay, yeah, you guys got some cool ideas. I got some cool ideas. We're going to put our minds together and make something great. That's all sexy and whatnot, but that's often not what you're dealing with. You're dealing with folks that, okay, you're asking people to live amongst each other that are culturally incompatible. In other words, you're
one side of them is. I do want to be like, I don't hate someone because of their religion and want them to see
no,
I'm not going to plan an attack and martyr myself because my religion tells me that I will receive all of these, treasures when I do it, right? And so I think that I don't disagree with you.
That's a distinction. You're being
There's
fair.
one side that's culturally incompatible. Why? Because they want to kill you.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why.
Look, you're being very fair because I'm sure there are folks that are out there that are, obviously trying to maybe they value the American way of living, right?
But if they do, don't they do it the right way?
Yeah, typically they aren't busting some weird You're right. You're completely right. Those people tend to be like, okay, I'm going to do everything in a different way.
Because I respect their customs,
their culture, I respect their all that because I'm really trying
laws.
to be a part of that, right? Where you have others they go into it with a completely different line of thinking. It's like, I'm going to this new area and I need them to think like me. And it's like definitely when you're dealing with American folks or the people like, I ain't got to do nothing. You're essentially, again, you're creating that conflict. And this is why I think that the evils of the government don't get focused on enough with regards to this, because people are so on this kumbaya and they think everybody that wants to come into the country is just someone that wants to live in peace. I'm sure there are those that exist, but to sit up here and pretend like there are others that want like others to live amongst their laws. I mean, you're seeing what's happening in countries like out there in the UK and what craziness that they're dealing with, where it's like there's pockets of that country that don't look like that country anymore because they have basically took it over.
Right. Yeah. Right. I want to get your thoughts here, but let me play. I want to play for you guys. Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS secretary, was asked during a press conference today about this particular Afghan terrorist, and I think he was a little uncomfortable, definitely tried deflecting and not answering. Watch.
I want to ask you about a different story. This Afghan national who was working for the CIA in Afghanistan was arrested for planning an election day terror plot. He was brought to the U.S. after Afghanistan collapsed. Your agency says as part of the SIV program. The State Department is telling us he was not part of the SIV program, which had strenuous vetting. They say he was never issued an SIV or immigrant visa, and DHS paroled him into the U.S. They further expect the court document to be updated to reflect this from the DOJ side. So, Mr. Secretary, how was this man brought into the U.S.? What screening did he undergo? What did he
I would say that's a pretty important question
to get here?
Jackie, I'm here in North Carolina communicating with the individuals who are still conducting search and rescue operations. Over 200 people have lost their lives.
He cares too much about Americans.
We have reports that at least 10 individuals have lost their lives as a result of Hurricane Milton. I'd be very pleased to answer your question in a different setting, but we're here to talk about emergencies and the support that we can deliver to people in desperate need. Thank you.
How disgraceful.
It's an absolute disgrace. I'll say this, Eric, if we're out of time.
No, we're not.
Cut me off. Eric, to your point, if you want to go full tinfoil hat, and it's not tinfoil hat, perhaps you bring him into the country because there's no appetite to contribute to our society. Perhaps you bring him into the country as the CIA because you know there'll be a faction that will destabilize the country. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you leave the border open because you know they're not coming here to become Americans. Perhaps you know that to be an American, you have to contribute to the culture of Americans and not leech. Perhaps they know they'll come to leech and steal and plunder, and it's the very reason they allow them to come here is to destabilize this country. That's why you open a border. How, Jaco, would you know that? I'm from South Africa, where they took our borders away. Within 3 months, our national anthem disappeared. Our flag disappeared. All the monuments were toppled. The radical Muslim jihadist Antichrist faction moved into South Africa from 40 countries, completely destabilized. I've lived this. I've literally lived. This is the playbook. You bring them because they do not value what you value. You bring them because they don't love America. And what you don't love, you don't protect. You burn it down.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, before we go, I want to remind you guys, if you have not yet gone to blazeunlimited.com/Sara, go check it out. They've got a new membership tier, and it includes a really awesome quarterly magazine along with VIP, event access and more behind the scenes footage. Just a more robust package for all of our P1s. That's what I like to say. But it's not going to last forever. Founding member spots are limited. So go to blazeunlimited.com/Sara. Hey, if there wasn't enough reasons to get your kids out of public schools, want to introduce you to a Northgate Crossing Elementary School in Spring, Texas, where teachers there are giving pre-K students sleepy stickers. Yeah, that's a sleepy sticker. It actually is meant for adults, and it contains melatonin and other ingredients that were meant for adults. And I want to play a clip of, I believe this is the mom who's talking about the discovery of this. Watch.
What happened with the sticker?
The sticker makes me fall asleep.
This is 4-year-old Lane Luviano. She's the one that broke this case open in September when she snuck one of her sleepy stickers out of the classroom.
She kind of pulled up her little shorts and said, "Mom, look, this is my sleeping sticker." And I was like, "The what?"
The teacher gives it to you. Where she put it?
On my arm.
On your arm? Which part? Point to it. Right up there?
Yeah.
And what's it look like?
Sleeping with a moon on it.
Lane's dad says he's known something was wrong since school first started.
2 o'clock in the morning, I'm hearing some noise in the room, and I'm going over there. She's still up.
And so she gives you the sticker. You put the sticker on, and it makes you tired?
Yeah.
Wow. And all the kids get them?
Yeah.
Guys, you would never find the body. Anyone who did that to my child, you just would never find it. I would make sure that you never found it. These people in these institutions do not care about your kids. They don't. I'm sorry. I understand. I know. I'm going to get the comments and they're like, but I'm a teacher. Right. I'm a teacher. My mom's a teacher and she cares. Okay. But what I'm telling you is the institution is rotted.
And get the teachers who care to start speaking up. My mom's a teacher too, and she abandoned that system.
Exactly.
She said, this thing needs to go away, Mr. July.
Yeah.
Who I'm sure has nothing to say about this.
Dude, like, this is... That's a crazy ass story, by the way, and it's like you wouldn't have even found out about it if
drugging your kids at
school. Literally drugging your kids.
That's a wild
bulldozer from all four corners.
Yeah, that's a wild. The story in itself is like wild. Like that is absolutely wild. And you know,
did you really think that no one was going to find out about this?
Yeah, I mean, apparently, it was like that. It took one child to blow it open. So it's like, what else are they doing? And to be honest, you don't know. Let's be completely honest. You don't know. You don't know. Like the public school, so obviously it needs to be completely eliminated. I mean, I say this all the time. If teachers are worth a damn, then cool. You'll land on your feet and you'll get a good real job. You'll be in very high demand. But they need to be completely eliminated. They're really only there to exist. I mean, the model has been that way since its inception. They're really only there to exist to churn out a bunch of little minions and hive mind folks. But it does show how it seems like I guess they treat these little children with contempt because they don't want to deal with them. So, hey, have a sticker, go to sleep and get out of my face seems to be how they are approaching it. But I've talked about this before. I've even talked about this from the parent side of things, how, social media and its growth, and people are way too comfortable about talking about this stuff. And I'm finding out how many parents not only don't really like their kids, but the children, the people that are for sure teaching them don't actually like their kids. They're more or less you put up with them. They're really an inconvenience to the life that you really want to try to live. And that's really that in action right there, because instead of actually, I don't know, maybe teaching them something, and granted, I get it. They're 4 years old and maybe you think they're obligated to some sort of nap time or something like that. But to me, that's you saying that you don't want to deal with them. Let them go to sleep, so I ain't got to really be dealing with all these
Those are the people
kids
voting for Kamala, and there's millions of them, Eric. Unfortunately, we just got to get real with ourselves here. Average IQ is 87. It's not that high. Okay, it's probably fallen to 59. Okay, we have a problem in this country. I'm with you. Look, they should sue.
Sue
that, because
sue the hell out of them.
Her dad's telling you her circadian rhythm is out of whack. She's up at 2:00 in the morning. She's probably now sleep deprived. Who knows what goes on? Did they check with the parent whether the substance in that patch the child is maybe allergic to or not? Of
course not.
Of course not.
Of course not. Yeah, it says 2 teachers and 2 aides have been suspended. Why are they not in jail?
What do you mean suspended?
Suspended?
Yeah, that's the wrong term.
How about fired?
Eric
Suspended with or without pay?
Eric, sorry to talk over you, but I love it. Eric said something we cannot miss. You don't know what else they're doing.
Well,
you know what you've discovered through the mouth of a 4-year-old.
But the question is, do you care? Because if you care enough, why are they still there?
Well, look, that like I said, it's an inconvenience, man. Like, it sucks. Like, a lot of people see their children as just scroll on Instagram for a little bit of time. Definitely when school starts and you see how people they want to be away from their children all the time. And I'm sitting there like,
why have them?
Why did you have them?
Why have them?
Why did you have them in the first place?
That's why they want to abort.
Yeah, I know.
100 million. They want to have all the action and no responsibility in this country.
That's true.
I know. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. All right, I want to play a game called Which One is Nuttier? First, we have Tim Walz's wife, Gwen, who started singing at a campaign rally. Watch.
Whole thing.
I do.
When the Scarlet team comes on the field, we will all stand up and cheer. To the other team will never yield, and we won't forget we're here. We will fight for victory, and win. We will conquer every.
And then there is, of course, Gretchen Whitmer, who I'm not quite sure exactly what she's doing, but it doesn't seem good. Watch.
Wow.
Love you, I do.
If you're listening on audio podcast, she just fed an Instagram influencer a Dorito where you notice she was holding it.
That is a sick.
In her groin area, fed it.
I can get deeper into this, and the people go, Jaco.
She's on her knees, by the way, while she receives the
Doritos. We can talk forever about code in BDSM and code in dominatrix and code in sexual perversion. That's sick. That's sick. That's a sick human being.
But they called JD Vance weird. And I'm like, have you guys looked at yourselves lately? You guys are sick and demented and depraved and also really freaking weird.
Waltz's wife is goofy. That's the sicko.
And that's not the first.
It's the sicko.
I don't know what she's doing on social media because that's not the first weird video like that she's put out. Blink twice if you need help, Gretchen.